Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and welcome to tonight's post-grind ecstasy. Welcome to more gameplay of the T18E2 Boarhound, a fantastic vehicle, great example of a sort of a medium-sized wheeled vehicle in War Thunder back when that was a novelty, before the monstrosities of modern machinery came to the game that are themselves subject to hull break. I'm pretty sure this thing does not break hull, which is surprising to everyone that faces it. Its main enemy is anyone that aims carefully for the driver's ports, which are not by any means difficult to hit, or the R3T20, because that thing just shreds this from any angle. Otherwise, you generally have a fairly high amount of survivability. The rarity of this vehicle and the fact that people just can't really figure out where to shoot this big mass of space. Add to that, your engine compartment is large and absorby of enemy shots. Your crew sits fairly high up in the turret, and you have two down in the hole in the driver's hole. So, things could be worse, is what I'm saying, in terms of survivability for this vehicle. Even though it does lack any sort of heavy armor, it has around 40 millimeters on the front in many places, although the most glaring weak spots are the totally flat, totally thin hatches for the driver and relief driver. So you might want to scrunch down in those seats, fellas. Jimbo and Jim Bob are gonna have a bob haircut if an enemy tank round decides to fly in through that thin armor. But like I said, you can get shot pretty much anywhere in this thing, and with shell changes you do bounce a lot more shots than you really should right now, but that's sort of the experience for everybody. So the absolutely top-notch gun handling, although somewhat slow turret traverse, and a little stabilizer, 57mm cannon with APHE, great muzzle velocity, 4-second reload rate. There's really not much more you could ask for out of the gun, other than maybe better performance against angled armor, but you're not going to get that in this current meta of War Thunder anyway, just because of how the shell dynamics are working right now. So, what do you do with this thing? Pretty much whatever you want. It doesn't fare well on soft terrain, just like a lot of the OG wheeled vehicles did. And this one really hasn't seen an improvement, especially since it is rather heavy for the amount of horsepower that it has. It's one of the few wheeled vehicles in the game that's actually almost on the sluggish side, but you still have the advantages of wheels in that you have a higher top speed on hard terrain, and you maintain a lot more of your energy in a turn. Of course, you can't traverse in place and you need to plan accordingly, but this thing has a decent turning circle, again, for a wheeled vehicle, and I just absolutely love this so-called light tank in terms of the meta of the game, but it really plays like a medium in a lot of ways. At, what is it, 3.7 battle rating we're playing this thing, and I think it's actually a 3.0. I could be mistaken, but at 3.0 it's the best medium tank you can get your hands on for the Americans, and the only thing you're lacking in is armor. But again, you do have a surprising amount of survivability against most opponents. So, what are we going to do in this battle? You saw, while I was yammering on, that we captured the A point, and this is my favorite way to start the match. It's just very familiar to me. The rest of this map is sort of a confusing and terrifying wasteland, and I know how to lock down the sight lines on this half of the map, and then after the match progresses a bit, I'll progress on into the rest of the map, as you see me doing now. So you can see that my team is fairly well focused on this area and spread out nicely. I've talked about spreading the net, and that's something that I try to keep in mind when I decide on a position to go when I do deign to look at the minimap, because I don't spend enough time doing that, and I'm aware of that, but I've got a lot of things to juggle when I'm playing this game anyway, let alone the stuff that's going on in my personal life with the 3 kids and all, and my wife merrily snoozing on the couch behind me. Today, Brooklyn, I should back up a little bit and say that yesterday she built what she calls a bathtub, which is actually more like a palace built of blankets. But she put some hard walls to shore it up. She tried to steal Mommy's laptop to act as a wall, but I explained that the laptop's not really meant to be architecture. But she did take my wife's laptop stand, so that was part of her bathtub. I'm not sure how that popped up into his turret, but I'm not going to question it. That was a nice shot. Anyway, we're going to get more good shots in this match. Just you wait and see. And we've gotten some dank flank on some distracted enemies. That's exactly what we like to see. And here I am smoking them because I got them. And it's always nice to cover your booty when you're advancing. That is, if you're not too worried about the big old target that a few puffs of smoke will put on your back. I'm more interested in not having to check my flank as I advance than I am in being stealthy. So that worked out nicely for us, and you can see that our team has also been carrying their weight, which as much as it can be tempting to complain about your team, sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't, and there's really not much you can do to change that. And giving advice to people is usually not accepted. So you can throw it out there once, but don't get upset if it doesn't land on receptive ears. And you know what? Your advice might be wrong anyway, so keep that in mind too. Anyway, where are we? At the top of our team, even with all this rambling. Oh, excuse me, my dead legs. Oh, I don't know why I continue to make the mistake of sitting on my legs and quickly crushing the life out of my calves with my big blubbery body weight, but well, I did that. Anyway, dead feet aside, this thing you can see, even though it doesn't pick up speed at the briskest of paces, it has just enough mobility to feel good, and the ride is smooth. Yeah, I've used that line before. Anyway, I also wanted to mention the custom camo that I made for this quite a long time ago, back when I was first getting into making custom camos, and I made some decisions with this that I like and some that I don't, but I really love the base texture. It makes it look like a burnt, like it went through a wildfire or something, and like it's covered in ash, like the Jeep of the Apocalypse or whatever. It reminds me of that thing from Mass Effect. I can't remember what the little rover was called, but I enjoyed that. A lot of people didn't like driving around in that thing, but it was fun for a little while, and then it wasn't, so I guess I can relate. Anyway, this thing continues to be an absolute blast. I love the fact that it's got 8 wheels, and I know that's not unique anymore, but this setup is definitely unique, and you can see we even managed to punch through both layers of side armor. Yeah, it's definitely a bug of the T-34 turret there. And there we go, one down and one not focusing on us. That's always nice, and it's the only way we're gonna get cool kills like that. Look at the map. Our team spread out very nicely here, spreading the net for the win, and we're gonna try to pull this all together and have ourselves a good match, a good old GG, if you will. And in fact, that's already pretty much where we are. So, that went well. Let's talk a little bit about the event that's going on. I've mentioned that it's best to just relax and play the game. That really is the best way to make progress. I'm not focusing on getting the first places because I'm going to have enough time to complete the event without doing that. Just at the end of every other night, you want to spend all the stuff that you've gotten over the course of, a few minutes at a time. And yes, there you go, unangle your armor for me, and kaplowy. That T-34 and SU armor just seems to bounce more than it should sometimes, but if you get the angle just right and Papastala doesn't feel like spitting in your open eye, then things can work out oh so nicely for this 57mm high velocity APHE round. It really does have some fantastic post-pen effect. And 7 kills, 5 assists, lots of scouting, lots of killing the enemy. And now, a little bit of gameplay of the old Su-6. So this is the premium that I purchased, and I really like this tiny attacker. Now, I haven't had as much of an opportunity to take this thing out as I'd like to. One, because it's very popular, so you end up with teams full of attackers, which is not absolutely the meta. And because so few people are playing Soviet aircraft at this VR, it's tougher to get into matches because USSR doesn't get folded in with other nations the way that America, France, and Britain go together, or Italy, Germany, Sweden, and sometimes France can go together, and Japan seems to tend to stand on its own as well. And I'd really like to see that change. We've gotten a long way away from historical matchmaker in every aspect of War Thunder, even sim battles, so I absolutely am ready to see better queue times for Japan and Russia specifically, probably China as well. Anybody play China? Hello! Anyway, do you like my decals? I had a good time putting that together. I think I saw something like that on somebody else's vehicle, and I was like, I gotta put that here. It's just the right dimensions for it, even if it's the wrong nation for some Germanized text on there. But maybe it's a message to your foes. I'm not sure what's that say? Du doch nicht? I don't read the German all so well, and I only speak it for pretensies and for fun, so hopefully that doesn't trigger any of you Volk out there. So, what are we rocking on the Su-6? We've got two 23mm cannons, as you do, and check this out, we got some rockets on the wings. These are the rockets that get 40mm of armor penetration and have, like, I think it's around 5 or 6 kilograms of high explosive filler, so they really make a blast when they hit. And I really like to blow things up with high explosive action. Kachiga! And you can see that really paid off nicely for us in our first pass. And coming in for some of those tanky fellers, yeah, we'll chalk that one down to a learning experience. It's better to fire these rockets off from level flight at, I'd say about 200 to 300 meters. So far, that seems to be what's working best for me. And maybe a 20-degree angle of attack is probably the best. Anyway, where do we go from here? I'm a little bit busy. I'm actually listening to the European Canadian stream as I'm chilling here in the air. I'm trying to keep a little bit of awareness on if there's enemy fighters in the area. It's just so satisfying but I'm also trying to really enjoy this Su-6 for what it is. And look at the carnage, man. Look at the fangs. So unlike other models of Su-6, this one just has the 23mm cannons instead of 37s in the wings, so you can't one-tap medium tanks as easily, though maybe 2 or 3 hits would be enough to kill a medium tank. So if you're very capable with this, from the side you can kill, and this is of course in RRB, things like Panzer 3 or 4, whatever they are. It's kind of tough to, I think it's a Panzer 4, a late model Panzer 4 if I'm not mistaken, but still very capable of being punched through the rear, or I would go for the side. The top armor is a little trolly. I think it bounces more than what it would in Tank RB, and this is a fantastic vehicle in Tank RB, as I think I showed you a little bit of it. I'm also very unaware of what the velocity is for these Chickass machine guns. They are very, very capable. Their absolutely ludicrous fire rate and their overall good characteristics make them capable in light ground attack or anti-aircrafting of any kind in reasonably close ranges with a reasonable amount of accuracy. I'm sure more time on target will pay off well, and this is a good time to remind any of you that the way that I get good with my guns, and I haven't done that yet for this aircraft, but the way that I get good is by playing in custom battles or by flying in the I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically an advanced test flight, and you'll see the mission editor or whatever it's called in your test flight menu before you fly out. You can set some parameters and go fly against 50 AI airplanes or whatever. It's just one of those ways to quickly get your guns aimed at something, practice some trigger time. Give yourself a feel for your equipment the way that it would take some time in PvP matches to accomplish, and then you've got other things to focus on. And you can see we tried going up against the top armor and we got some sparks, but we didn't get any action. So testing complete, and I must say I'm happy with what I see out of this aircraft. It's not the kind of attacker that can wipe out an entire enemy force on its own, but you can see we picked up, we're going to pick up 20 kills in this match. That might be the one that gets us there, and that's not bad. Not bad at all. With the ability to take out even heavy targets with its rockets and or bombs. I go for the setup that has the heavy rockets, so I'm not able to carry bombs, unfortunately. But they're not super impressive bombs anyway. It'd be a lot of fun to kill a tank with them in Tank RB, so I'll have to try that at some point too. But overall, this is just a very enjoyable. I'm pretty sure we finished him off with the 23s, not the Chickass machine guns, but a man can dream. But this is just the kind of attacker you would expect it to be. It definitely makes sense to have it at a, what is this, a 4-3 battle rating. You're certainly not going to be overpowered against the enemy fighters that you'll face, and you'll be very capable at taking down any low energy or low altitude foes that you come across as you're pursuing your attack runs. And if you want to play this as a fighter or a bomber hunter, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that is the intended role for this aircraft, but I don't know. Watch one of Jengar's video and see how he's doing with the thing. Anyway, excuse me. I still have a little bit of a cough. I think I'm just starting to get over this cold. So let's hope. Anyway, you were probably going to be playing for quite some time. Oh, we're about halfway through the grind for What's this even called? We've had like 5 events in a row, so I'm getting a little burned out. But I'm really excited to get my hands on a Merkaba Mark III, and even if I can't take down that BF-109, causing a crit is definitely helpful. And unfortunately that guy pulled away from the head-on wisely enough and in time to keep me from getting what I wanted out of him, which was some damage. And this F4, the F4 is one of the best turning BF-109s, manages to catch my tail controls, and I didn't quite notice that, so I was turning and I'm like, huh, well, let's pull the flaps out, and then it's like, oh no, the tail controls. So we're done for here. We're just going to try and pull off a crash landing, and we did what we could. The lack of a rear gunner on this aircraft definitely makes a difference, but I feel like we made more of an impression than just that which Comrade Yuri made with his face there in those last few seconds. He's fine. He walked it off. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one, and this is just a look at a couple of vehicles that I've really enjoyed. One of them, an old event vehicle that I would love to see reintroduced so that new players can have access to it, and another, a new premium that, while it is a little spendy, is definitely a great open door for the attacker meta if you want to grind out up to rank 5 and even beyond of Russian aircraft and not play the fighter role. Well, unless you want to be a little bit derpy. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Catch you in the next video. Bye bye.